Our guest today, hailing from Churchbridge, Saskatchewan, Canada, drafted in the third round at 48th overall to the NHL, picking up 139 games played with the Minnesota North Stars, the Quebec Nordiques, and the Washington Capitals, tallying numerous goals and assists throughout that time, along with 528 penalty minutes and a reputation as a man afraid of no one. Now standing as the coach of the Laurent Ice Wolves in the SGHL, as well as a mental health advocate around the world, standing at 5'10", 190 pounds, the man known as Killer. Welcome to the show, Kevin Kaminski. Killer, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
thanks
our
for coming
pleasure.
on.
It's our pleasure.
Yes. How's things in your world? Where are you at right now? Are you in Laurent right now, getting ready for the season, or is no season, or where are you at?
Well, no, in Saskatoon right now. I'm just kind of hanging out here, trying to keep up with the hockey world. Thank God there's World Juniors on right now to, I guess, be not as bored to watch a few games. So get to watch a couple of last games here today. But just kind of trying to keep the guys, the players updated on what's happening, and just kind of keep them informed, and hopefully we hear some good news on the 15th. Although there was, I guess, a report on a radio show that yesterday that after the World Juniors that Hockey Canada might be shutting down everything
For the season. Yeah, that I thought that might be a little premature at this point. I know we're waiting to see what numbers look like following the holidays, but yeah, you and I text back and forth about that yesterday, Killer. That's just devastating to these young players that have been patiently waiting to get back with their squads and their teammates, and that's well, you grew up in Churchbridge, Saskatchewan, small town, just like all of us. That's what you grow up wanting to do, is be a hockey player, and to have that taken away from you, it's got to be tough. Even for you as a coach, I know how passionate you are towards your players. What are you doing to keep those kids positive right now? Like, they're young men. You're dealing with 17 to 20-year-old young men right now that this is their life. It really is, Killer. I don't have to explain that to you. You went through it. So how have you shifted your role as a coach from behind the bench to mentoring these kids through these like uncharted waters, so to speak? Like, we've never went through this before.
Yeah, I know. I kind of just keep them updated with text. I'm not technical savvy. I know. I think Patty, my assistant, has been doing some Zoom workouts, whatever, or the guys have been doing that just to stay in touch with each other. But I kind of just do some team text here and there, let them know kind of what's going on, and if they have any questions, just please call me. I know some guys were kind of wondering if they can fly back on the 13th, 14th. I just said, you know what? Let's just wait till the 15th till we hear something, and then your travel costs lots, and plus you're just I guess it's just being patient. I mean, in Laurent we have the ice whenever we want it. So if guys get there, if they give us the okay on the 15th, then guys can get there 16th, 17th, 18th, whatever it is. We can do 2 a days. We'll get you in good shape. I can guarantee that.
Well, so I know I'll be staying in touch with you. That's real important. You're gracious enough to take on a young player of mine, Nolan Allen from Davidson, who actually is playing for Tanner's hometown team, the Raiders. And you did me a favor bringing him in, and I know he's eager to get back. So I'm hoping when we're done Zooming and podcasting that we're going to be able to communicate on getting these guys back in here in a couple of weeks. So
that's got to be like you in both of your guys' opinions, that age level for a guy like Nolan and for all these guys, this is a big year for so many guys, right? Where they could hone their skills or help them get to the next level. Like, killer would be like you not being able to play your AAA year or play a year with the Blades. Do you think that would have, it might not have, but it should play a little bit of a role on their whole hockey career, right? Losing a year, losing all this time of playing and people not being able to see them and being able to try to get to that next level.
Well, definitely. And, well, there's kind of two different aspects here with Nolan. Obviously he's in his draft year. He wants to get seen and, and I appreciate you guys, contacting us and getting them here. It's kind of been cool. We only played 5 games, but, it's good to see some of the scouts that have called you and say, hey, is Nolan playing here in Nipawin? They haven't made the track out to Laurent yet. But I know the PA Raiders draft has made it up there. So that's kind of cool. And to have a guy of that caliber and, it's not only good for Nolan, but it's also for the rest of the team too, to step up and, see what they got. But, and then on Nolan's side with, his draft year and trying to, get drafted as high as you can. And now that's kind of taken away from him. But then also on the other side of it, for especially our 20-year-olds who want to go to college, right, to further their career to their next level or their next step in their journey. As a 20-year-old, and it happened last year too. Fortunately, we got to play a full season and for playoff games. But now, if things go sideways, what these 20-year-olds are going to be scrambling because now you might only have one school and it might be too expensive for them, so they're not getting the exposure, or no one's getting the exposure for Nolan for the NHL draft, but also the 20-year-olds for whether it's Div 1, Div 3, or here in Canada, U Sport, whatever it is.
CIS. Yeah, it's that all important scholarship that those kids work hard. The parents invest so much time and effort in getting them, and money, obviously, to get the kids to the rink. So yeah, it's shitty times. But you know what? We're Western Canadians. We don't have to explain what kind of breed we are, or how tough we are. I think we got the toughest guy maybe ever played the game pound for pound on our podcast today. So enough business. Let's get to some of the fun stuff here, maybe.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Growing up in Churchbridge, let our audience know here, Kevin, who you grew up with up there. What kind of players were your role models within, 30, 40 miles of where you grew up? It's quite a little spot in a professional hockey factory up there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know what? It's so funny. I mean, my dad coached the senior team. He coached my brother. He coached me too. And I'm sure we'll get to the scout for the Blades, Huey Scobie, who was a big mentor, in my career. We got, Bruce Baskin right from my hometown who played with the Portland Winterhawks. We had some very, very talented players from Churchbridge, Gene Dom and Rob Dom. Rob Dom, was coached in the NHL. He coached the Alberta Golden Bears to many championships. I think he's over in Australia now coaching. But Gene Dom was, and Gene Dom coached me, but he played for the Melbourne Millionaires and man, I think, he was 6'4". He could shoot the puck and if you pissed him off, he'd kill you. Unfortunate. He said he didn't have that desire to go on and play,
right.
So, and until this day, I still tape my stick like Gene Dom. So those, when my dad was coaching the senior team, I looked up to those guys.
For sure. Senior hockey back in those days, killer. Well, where I grew up in Asquith, in 1 year, we had Ralphie Clausen and Jerome Engel out there. Two NHL veterans playing on that senior team. It was Yeah, that was real hockey back then. It was, you could fight 3 times in a game before you got thrown out. I remember going to watch. And a lot of those guys did go 3 times a game. And then they had to go for a cigarette and a shower in the dressing room.
Yeah, exactly. There's another. I when I was with Quebec, I played with when Guy Lafleur made his comeback there. I played with Guy, and in between periods, he'd go outside in the Quebec Coliseum and have
a dart.
Have a dart. So
would he have it on the bench? Yeah, would he smoke on the bench?
Maybe he did. Yeah.
I figured Guy would be have enough celebrity status that he may be able to smoke right in the dressing room.
Well, you know what? It was just outside the dressing room.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like right there. So it was, but yeah, I mean, he's a legend, and obviously
do whatever the fuck you want when you're at that level.
Yeah.
When you're Guy, when you got hair like that, you got to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, especially in the province of Quebec, right? So
yeah, isn't that the truth? We've been out there a few times for some PBR events and a festival out at Saint T, Quebec, and it is you said it, especially in a province like Quebec, things are different. You get to get away with a few more things, that's for sure.
But when you're the flower, you can get away with lots.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, I know you would have been playing hockey, and I want to make sure I get my age groups correct. Did you play against the Clark boys and Kelly Chase? And where was Barry Melrose in those days? Those are all some significant National Hockey League names. So did you cross paths with those guys growing up and playing?
For sure. Well, Barry was a little bit older, and I'll get to my neighborhood there or right around there. So there was Theo Fleury, who played, obviously he was like a year older. So, and we didn't play Russell very much, like the Manitoba, because we were in Saskatchewan, but I played, my brother played mostly against him. But anyway, we had, Kelly Buckberger 10 miles down the road in Langenburg, Jeff Odgers, take a right at Langenburg and go to Spy Hill. And actually, we picked up Jeff, I think, a few times for provincials. We went on to win provincials with Jeff, so played against him lots and still good buddies. Actually, I had him and Curtis Lasician, couple AAA midget Blazers up last year in La Ronge for the family day.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, we told they had some really good stories about that. So. Who else?
Coming up in a minute, I got a couple pretty good stories that I actually reached out to Curtis yesterday on, so we'll leave them here a little later on though.
Okay, perfect. I mean, Pat Falloon, who else is around there? Well, Eddie Sawatsky, who went on to have a great career in Denver College, and then he went overseas and played lots. So I mean, there was there was lots around that time and era when guys went on to play, whether it was AHL or NHL, but back to the Kelvington area. Like I said, Barry was a little bit older, so but I remember playing with the Blades. He was coaching with Medicine Hat, and we would go. He would have his hockey school in Kelvington in the summer, so I would go up to work that. I think I can't remember for a week long or 2 weeks, whatever it was. I was there working it. So I did get to play with Wendell. I got called up 5 games, I think, when I was a 15-year-old.
Your first year, yeah.
And played with Wendell. So that was that's kind of my style of play. I looked after my 2 idols were Brian Trottier and Wendell Clark, and I tried to be the best 2-way centerman I could be everywhere I went. I always considered myself a 200-foot player, but also to play that style where you put up points and you played that other side of the game, which I liked quite a bit as well. But yeah, so we played with and in Saskatoon played with Kelly Chase, Kerry Clark, Corey Kosher.
Some tough boys.
Yeah,
really tough boys right there.
Was the Twister around at that time too?
And Twister was around there too. So I mean,
holy shit! Yeah,
that was
like this. Think about that.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and I know Tanner wants to touch on this, but how is that Prince Albert Raider Saskatoon Blade rivalry back in the late 80s when you were there, Killerland? Who were the tough guys on the other side in the green?
Well, gosh, I mean, early on, was it? I think one of the I fought Dave Manson when I was 15 for one of the games. I got
Jeez.
called up to go to Prince Albert, right? So
How did that go? How did that go?
actually it went good. But I had to wear a cage, so
Cage.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't take my cage. If I could have taken off, I'm sure I would have, but probably a good thing I didn't. So, but yeah, hung in there, and when you're 15 and you get called up, you want to do whatever you can to show your teammates and show the blade brass or whatever brass you're on that. Hey, you want to show you're going to go to war for your teammates and do whatever it takes to stay there. So after I did fight Dave, I mean the boys loved it. So it was and the coaches loved it, but they coaches said, hey, we got guys for that.
Yeah.
But I love that part of the game probably a little too much, but I love that challenge to fight the bigger guys as well.
Well, in that year that you got called up for your 5 games, I think it's still a record today. And I want to make sure our audience understands it wasn't all about just fighting for Kevin Kaminski. You were a skilled guy. And Curtis Lecision, we were texting back and forth. I let him know that you're going to be a guest on here today. And he said you had some, when the gloves were off, you had some deadly mitts. And when the gloves were on, you had some silky mitts, is what he said. I think it's still a record today, 103 points in 32 games with the Blazers, AAA midget, and any standard, any year, that's damn impressive. So I want to ask, was that part of the game in you, do you think, right when you laced up the skates as a young guy in Churchbridge? Did you like the physical side of the game right off the bat?
I did. Yeah. I mean, I remember Gene Dom he always to start practice, we'd play 5 minutes with one puck keep away. And I would just kind of, if I didn't have the puck, I kind of sit in the weeds and kind of anticipate, you're trying to dangle and a guy has his head down, anticipate that big hit. And especially had some of the bigger guys on the team that try and put them on their arse. So
yeah.
I always loved that.
After schools in Churchbridge, before you come in to play your AAA midget, was the rink kind of like the spot? Was there an outdoor rink in Churchbridge, or did everybody go to the barn, which is obviously named after you now? I know you're real proud of that. But is that where you guys hung up? There was no Atari or ColecoVision like today's kids probably. You were to the rink.
Right. Well, but you know what? Back then it was busy. I mean, I think we had a lot of divisions, whether Pee Wee or I guess Tom Thumb back then.
Yeah.
Bantam, midget. There was a lot of times where there was divided into 2 teams. So, and I think right after school, I mean, we go to the rink and get ready, but the figure skaters would have the ice first, right after school. And then, everyone would get their practice time. It was probably, it was Tuesday and Thursday, I believe everyone would get their practice time. And then usually some games would be played on Wednesday and then the weekends, obviously. But, and I was fortunate. I got to usually practice with my brother's team. So I would go, right after whatever, if I was on.
Oh, yeah. I remember the days when you got to play up. You remember how cool that was when you got to play up with the older kids, when you got to call up, you thought, that all right, I'm going to make this, I can play with the older kids. I'm NHL bound. So
I remember the one year I got called up. Actually, it was in there's a guy in Larange, Perry, and he works at the co-op, and he was telling me he still remembers this. And Davidson came to Churchbridge, and I think they beat us 4-3. I didn't play that game because I think I could only play 5 games for a call up for provincials. And we went to Davidson, and we we had a really good game. But he says, I remember you coming into Davidson, and till this day, he said you had like 4 goals and 3 assists. You beat us like 8-2 or something, and you guys went on to win provincial champions. That was with my brother's team, the older
7-point night. 7-point night.
As a
I believe
call-up.
so. Yeah.
As an AP.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So that year, that was bantam, and we won provincials as peewees too. So I won 2 provincial championships in church
wow.
that year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
I can tell by that grin on your face, those are fond memories.
Yeah.
You know,
Heck yeah,
a
that's
guy
fun.
that got to, you know, you said you weren't expected to be drafted, and I can somewhat imagine how exciting that was for you when you had your name called. I get to share that experience with some young guys, and it's unreal when you're sitting with them in one of those arenas and they call their name.
but
I weren't at the draft, eh?
I didn't even go to the draft. No.
Right. So were you sitting at home? You couldn't be watching the internet like the kids do today. How did you find out?
Well, actually, you know what? I love ball too. So my billet, who I was living with at the time, Jim and Joanne Johnston. Jim coached. He was like a Reg Dunlop in softball.
Reg Dunlop, I love it.
He was coach, manager, player, second baseman. So so he got me out to start playing fastball, and actually I did end up. I loved it. Fastball was great. I actually ended up I got called up to with the Rempel brothers and went to play Canadians in Prince Edward Island that one year. But anyway, going back, we were actually my agent Don Meehan at the time. He because I can't remember, and I still don't know. I could only go in the first 3 rounds that year. There was some stipulation they put in. So Don said, I probably wasn't going to, you'd go, but I probably wouldn't go in the first 3 rounds. So I just stayed home, and we were playing in a ball tournament in Regina, and it was me, Brian Glynn, and Kevin Blosky drove up together. And
Brian Glenn, big D man for the Blades, eh?
Yeah,
I remember him.
He was tough too when he needed to be, I'll tell you that. And he had a cannon for a shot. And actually, I got to see him up in La Ronge. He, I think his wife Cindy nephew came to our camp.
Oh, good, nice.
They had brought him, but yeah, I think we played like 11 o'clock game, and after the game, we're sitting in the parking lot, having a beer, whatever, and then let's go to the hotel, check in, and get a bite to eat. And on our way to the hotel, the radio came on, and so now drafted from from the WHL in the draft, so and so in the first round, second round, and now from in the third round, 48th overall to the Minnesota North Stars from the Saskatoon Blades, Kevin Kaminski. And I kind of like, I didn't know what to do, right? Like, I didn't know if it was a mistake or whatever. And big Brian Glenn turns over and punches me in the shoulder. He says, "Killer, you just got drafted." I guess I did. So,
but how has time changed? You had to get it on the radio. And if you wouldn't have been in the car, you might not have known for another 3 hours because no one would have been able to get a hold of you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no one really, I think mom and dad knew I was going to play in a ball tournament, but they didn't know what hotel we were staying at actually. And then Lou Nanny called the house to, talk to mom and dad and wanted to talk to me. So I don't know, mom and dad found out where I were and ended up, Lou Nanny called me at the hotel. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. So a little different draft day than normal. So.
Well, no kidding. And sometimes, especially in these times, I wish it was more like that, where we listen to the radio more for information. Boy, you must have, the transition from playing with the technology to coaching now and how the kids spend, their off ice time. It must just make you scratch your head. I would have to think that it's nowhere near, even in my generation, what we were doing. Like
Oh my
Tanner doesn't
God.
know any different. He grew up in this era.
No,
But
no, it's a lot different even for me. Like I'm 28 now, so even like you know, you look at all the kids now and even like the NHL, the different players and the different technology that's involved. Like I don't think I got an iPad till I was fucking till I could buy my own at 25 or something, you know, and they all got them behind the benches and that's, you know, the main.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, it like in the last probably 5 to 10 years, I would say the game has went through the roof in all that sense, right?
Yeah, it's
For
crazy.
you
I
guys.
know. Well, Galen Patterson, I think he's 30 now or something. So I mean, he's great with technology. So
he's Galen's the assistant coach in Laurent.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
he has. And you know what? We got I think the Instat now, which they do everything for you. So Patty sends them the game, and they can go on and watch all their shifts. Just their shifts.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just you got the power play, penalty kill all ready to roll. I mean, so it's during the game, I still have I still write down if I see a D zone coverage or a forecheck where I think we got to look at to see whether it was a good one, or I try and do a couple good ones and a couple not so good ones to where we can correct it, and what we can do better, whether it's in the neutral zone, D zone coverage, power play, penalty kill, that kind of stuff. So yeah, the technology is crazy because I'll tell you what, when I first got into coaching and my first job with Mike Babcock in the American Hockey League in Cincinnati, guess what I was doing, Tanner?
What?
I was dubbing from VCR to VCR.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I tell you what, the one day we went in to do video and for some reason, and I didn't check it. I thought it was good and it was freaking all like blurry.
Yeah.
Well, we got back into the coach's office and man, did Mike Babcock rip me a new one, man.
Hey, did Babcock ever did he ever coach you?
No.
What are your thoughts on, like, obviously you worked with him and hired him, but there's obviously in the news all of his escapades and everything that's been going on this last little while. Do you think he'll ever coach again in the NHL, or where do you think he'll go?
Oh, for sure. You know what? It was kind of the last couple of years, I don't know, with me changing numbers and all that stuff, lost his number. And this summer I was very fortunate. Barry Trotz, who coached us in Portland, Maine, with the Washington Capitals farm team, we would won the Calder Cup with him in '94. But I called Trotzy this summer and we got talking. He says, "Hey," he says, "we got this. It's called the Coach's Corner or Coach's Coffee." And he got me on, and it was awesome. It was, Babcock was there, all the college coaches. You got Hall of Famers, Scotty Bowman, Ken Hitchcock. I mean, all the NHL coaches. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. We did it. It was 3 times a week. Then it went to 2 and all that. So it was good to get reacquainted with all those coaches again. And Mike Babcock actually called me right after one of the sessions, and we kind of got got hooked up again. So that was awesome.
Oh, cool. Right on. Going back to your video and your VCRs, switching back and forth, and the kids and their iPads, they can watch every shift. There's not as much fighting anymore in the league, but do you think if they had those iPads that all the kids would fucking be honed in on the Domi fight with you and Junior?
Yeah, I thought, you know what, that fight still pretty iconic, I guess, because you know what was funny? I had put something on. Alana put something on sale, and a guy came over yesterday to buy it, and he like come in the door. He had his face mask on, and he says, "Hey, you're Kevin Kaminski." He had season tickets for the longest time with the Blades, and that was the first thing he said. I remember the Tie Domi fight in Memorial Cup. So yeah, it was. I know, like even Dave Struch, who we played with, and he's coaches in Regina now. His brother lives out in Calgary. He always messaged me once in a while. He says, "Man, I still love that. That's the best fight ever." And so whenever it's been a while, coming back to Saskatoon because I was, in the States for 27 years. And, when I came back for the Memorial Cup in 2013.
Yeah. They did a video. I just watched that of you.
Walking around the concourse and, and I think we had some signings we did. So I was here the whole 2 weeks, however long it was. And again, the older people, still remember that fight today. I mean, obviously it was, losing in overtime sucked, but
Swift Current, correct? Swift Current Broncos. Joe Sakic was on the other side too, was he not?
Actually, Joe was in Quebec. I was actually Curtis and Joe made Quebec that year. So they weren't.
Oh, they'd already moved on.
Yeah, so we were supposed to get Twister back, Curtis back, Tim Shovelday back, and there was someone else, and they all made
their NHL clubs,
NHL teams.
So who were the studs on Swift Current side?
Well, that was Joe's brother Brian Kennedy.
Did Sakic score did Brian score a big goal in that game?
I think that was Soberlack who
the OT goal?
The OT goal.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I was at the game. I don't know what year is that? 89?
Yeah.
89. So what would that make? Yeah, 16. I was 16. I remember being at that game, and it just what an atmosphere and
my God.
It was Sask Place back at that time.
Yeah.
And they still had that one end wide open though. You know how it was just concrete. It was jammed and the people were into it.
12,000. I mean, it was outstanding. I mean, obviously it would have been the feather in the cap to win it all for the fans of Saskatoon. They've never won, and even the 2 years before, and we'll get back to Barry Melrose with, we lost to Medicine Hat both years to go on to the finals against the other division. And so whenever we would go watch or go to Barry's hockey school in Kelvington, he would, so we had Kelly Chase and Kerry Clark and Corey Kosher and me. He'd always just
rub it in.
Rub it in for sure.
Well, for our viewers that are just listening here, you can Google Kevin Killer Kaminski's helmet. It's a white CCM helmet that you can view on Google, and it looks like. Well, I'm going to ask you what you did to make it look like it did, and tell us. How is a guy what did it do to a guy's hands when they hit that helmet? Like that almost should be considered in the same category as a 9mm when you're wearing that, because it's a lethal, deadly weapon.
Yeah, you know what? I can't remember where I heard it from, and I think I did it when I was in Halifax. Starting my pro career, just took a scalpel to it and just made some little incisions in it, I guess, and peeled the plastic back, and they're all in today. They're not sticking out, but it was just one of those things. Like it was. I mean, there's so many different things that fighters did, right?
Right.
I mean, if you knew you were going to fight, we'd put the skin toughener on our knuckles, right?
Yeah.
Just spray it on.
Yeah.
Spray it on, and it would grab your skin and kind of rip you open, right? I mean, I don't fighters. Twister, I won't mention names, but he used to cut his sleeve, right? He used to, because everyone tried to grab his right arm because he threw so hard and so heavy from downtown. He would just loosen, lightly sew it back up, so when guys grab it, it would just rip, and his arm would be free. I mean, no tie downs. Rob Ray.
Rob Ray. I was gonna say that with the fucking losing the shoulder pads and
I ended up
off. Yeah,
I ended up doing that too.
Really?
I used to wear my shoulders always, were not the best, but I always wore the Donzi pads, and they would kind of just, if guys would tug, I mean, it was like they were sewn into my jersey, and the jersey and shoulder pads would just
went.
come right off,
Yeah.
So, it was just like, I don't, you probably seen some of the comments on, with the Hockey Badook, whatever, with the helmet, just, some guys thought it was awesome that, that you had, to whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That attitude. And, some, like I said, there's guys who did a lot of other things. And, some guys didn't think, coward and all that stuff. Well, you know what I mean? If you're fighting, what's the difference with the guy with the Winwell helmet and he's got the two screws, sticking out a little bit. Some guys would put the screws the other way.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, so like I said, I mean, like,
well, I think that helmet should be in the Hall of Fame, Killer. That's me.
I agree with you.
If I ever get a voice, that'd be my suggestion, that helmet should go into the Hall of Fame. And I encourage everybody to Google it and have a look so they know what we're talking about, because it hurts looking at it. Like, to even think about throwing a punch at that just.
Well, I know early on in my career, I kind of, I'd stand in there and go toe to toe. I mean, later on in my career, I try and be a little more
finesse.
Well, I would try and duck sometimes. So
some more structure to your fighting.
And then you're fighting guys that are 6'6" and
Bob Probert.
6'8". I mean,
yeah, don't leave out Bob Probert. Don't leave out Proby.
And Proby, yeah, I mean, that's just those guys that you're going to take punches, because you're most likely not going to be able to put those guys down, right? So hopefully you stand in there, and hopefully you duck at the right time. But if not, then hopefully their hands hurt, and then you can get the upper whatever on the way down or something. So
yeah.
Well, I never doubted the fact that you had balls, Killer, and then you told us that you went Dave Manson when you were 15. Like, that's deep, man. That's ballsy right there. So how old would Dave have been in that year? Would he have been 2 years older than you?
I think it might have been his last year.
So 3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Wow.
2 or 3 for sure.
And we know Dave was no slouch. His nickname was Charlie Manson. So you got a Charlie Manson and a Killer going.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, and well, this is what brings us together as hockey people and players and fans. That last year I got to coach his son Ben.
Yeah.
In the Rongs, so it's just he came up for a golf tournament, and so got to meet him and his wife, and yeah, I mean, it's all good when you're on the ice. I mean, to me, here's two different people. I hated everybody, right? I hated everybody. Kerry Clark on the other side, before games, he would go talk to the tough guy, and he would fight him twice.
No way. Huh?
That's just the way Sharky was, man. Like, he knew his role, he knew his job. And if he had to fight his best friend, he'd do it, right? For me, I didn't care who it was. If you're gonna take liberties on one of our better players, or if I need to change the momentum, I'm gonna be there for my teammates. So there's two different perspectives that I was so focused, and I just, like I said, I'll do anything to win.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember a time when you were playing midget with Curtis Lasician? He said you weren't scared to run a goalie at any time, and he's came out to play the puck. Do you recall that?
Against our crosstown rivals, the Contact.
Yeah, that's right.
Made that rivalry a little bit more hotter, I guess.
What about do you remember a goalie named Kenton Ryan and playing in the old arena?
Yes, yeah.
What happened there?
We'll go to the first one, right? So I was, like I said, I was taught by some very good people, including my dad, and I was always told to take the body. And it was a race for the puck, and it was just inside the blue line, and he got there first, and I just said, screw it, man. I just decided to take the body, and it was, he was out cold and his guard sail, and then I think, obviously some guys came to his rescue and that stuff. So, but yeah, like I said, I think I made that crosstown rival a lot more
of a rivalry.
Yeah, a bigger rivalry than it was. And then to Kent and Ryan. So yeah, that was back in the old barn, and it was in the second period. So we were down by where the Zamboni comes out. I think Tim Chevelday was playing, and so what happened was Twister and Darren Kimball squared off, right? And
you imagine watching that. Damn.
Oh, I mean, it was and then I was
midget.
going back.
This is midget.
Yeah.
No,
is this midget? This is WHL.
This is WHL. This is Blaze now. Yeah. And I was going. So when a fight, you go back to the bench, right? So as I was coming back to the bench, Kent and Ryan, the puck went down to their end, right? And he ended up shooting it at me. So
Wrong move.
I said,
wrong move.
So I went down there, right? So everybody, the PA Raiders bench is closest to the fight, right? So
yeah.
They're all watching, and all benches are both there, all standing up, right? And they're all watching the Twister and Kimby fight. And so after Kent and Ryan shoots the puck, I go down there and I grab him and I pull him into the close corner where the benches are so no one can see. And I just start teeing off on him. I got on top of him and everyone watching the Kimby fight except for the people in the corner on the other end of the old rink.
That's what Curtis said. You pulled him into the corner where no one could see you tune him. He said you beat the shit out of him.
It was funny. I was a guy bought a killer hoodie this summer, and I went over to his place, and we were, because he used to go to the games all the time, and it was funny. He brought that story up when we were sitting in talking in his garage, and he says, I was at that game. And I was dating Kent and Ryan's sister. And so she was pissed and he was laughing.
Yeah. Well, 3,772 PIMs from your last year of, my math might be off just a little bit, but to get the gist of it and put it in perspective, 3,772 PIMs from 85, 86 till you retired from pro hockey. You spent 63 hours in the penalty box. Do you regret 1 minute of that, Killer?
You know what? I don't. And it's so funny because my old line mate Jack Bocus, who recently passed away due to cancer, and he was I got kind of we kind of got back together again because he was coaching with he kind of ran the LA Junior Kings program. And when I got the job in Fresno in California, and he ran a Cali camp for junior kids, right, to go get exposure, whether it was BCHL or NA3 where I was coaching, or the Western States Hockey, whatever it was. So we kind of, I would go visit him. Even I would go down there just to visit and play some golf with him. And we would reminisce because we had a hell of a line back then with the Blades. I mean, had Grant Kachuk and Jack Bocus, and we did a really good job of putting good numbers up. But he would always says, Killer, he says, if you would have just played the game, he said, you would have had just as many points as Sakic did, because that's how good our line was. But he says, I know.
Well, when you're sitting in the penalty box for half the game, you just got to work with the averages, right, Killer? Like, right. Well, that's true story. You look at your numbers, 92-93 in the American Hockey League with 79 games with Halifax, you had 64 points, 27 being goals. Here's the staggering number: 345 minutes in PIMS. Like, that's epic numbers all the way across. And I think that was really what paved your way to get, probably after that season, as if you look on Hockey DB or Elite, that's when you started getting all your games. I think that's when the big club, obviously the Caps, recognized what they had with you as a player. And from what I get from Curtis Lesician, what you were to the guys as a teammate. And I've only got had the pleasure to visit with you, a handful of times here this last little bit. And I can really see that you really cared about your teammates. And I really see that with, how you've transitioned into the coaching and what Nolan's told me and how much he really enjoyed his time in La Ranch. And on that, I always want to, and this might be a tough question. I'm going to put you on the spot with this, but who do you think in your time was the best player you played with that never got a shot? Whether it be the clutch and grab game and the guy was too small, or how the game's evolved to today with the speed. But who do you look back on and think, that guy should have played 500, 700 games in the NHL?
God, that's a good question. Trying to think back through, because I know in Quebec, I think quite a few guys, they weren't the best then. They were good. Started getting good before. Well, they made the big trade, obviously, with Lindros, right? So
yeah.
Then they moved to Colorado, and then obviously that year they won the cup while Curtis was there, right? So that's when I got. Quebec got rid of the riffraff and went to Colorado and won the cup, and that's when I got traded to Washington. So they got rid of the dead weight, and they went on to win the cup. So,
hey, why did Lindros not want to go there? What's the story behind that?
Well, just a baby.
Really? Yeah, because I didn't know about that until a while back.
Parents were involved, and thought he. What the crazy thing is that. And I don't know, you hate to look at this, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's a privilege to play the game, and I don't give a shit what NHL team. My favorite team was the Islanders. I would have loved to play for them, but I went wherever I.
Oh yeah, fuck.
Where you go wherever you're supposed to go, or drafted to, or whatever. I mean, you're not bigger than the game, but
at any level, killer. At any level.
I agree. 100%. And then you look at, hey, Eric had a hell of a career, man. Don't get me wrong, but he never ever did win a cup. Yeah. You know what? If he would have went to Quebec and, hey, you know what? Go there, try it for sure. And if it doesn't work out, don't sign play your 3 years entry level contract and then say, hey, I want out or whatever. But anyway, I mean. They make that trade and they go on to win a cup, and Philadelphia never ever did. So
yeah, it worked out for them.
Yeah,
definitely.
Wow. Yeah. Now back to that question. I'm just trying to think who.
I know it's a tough one. I probably should have given you this yesterday to think about it for a bit. I didn't mean to put you on the spot because I have another question that might be easier. The toughest guy you ever fought.
Well, you know what? So that year when I got traded to Washington and we played, we won the cup that year. So I mean, you can look at my numbers in Portland too. I think even after the Calder Cup, I think it was the lockout, I went down and I was over a point a game.
Yeah, 35 points in 34 games. And here's even a better number, 292 PIMs in 34 games.
I was pissed I didn't get to 300.
That's a lot of time in the box.
No, I think even with that, in Halifax there, the 64 points game, I think I played, or in Halifax, or was it Fort Wayne? It was Fort Wayne. And I played some games, I think 7 games with Halifax. I think I ended up with
455 PIMs in 56 games in Fort Wayne, and 44 minutes in 7 games.
So I was one minute 1 minute shy of 500
for the year. That's right.
Yeah, so that still pisses me off.
1 minute shy of
1 minute
500 on the year.
500. But yeah, no, like I said, that year in, and I look at, and I think this is where kind of Curtis talks about kind of being the team guy. I could have bitched and complained. Like I could have told Barry Trotz, well, look at my numbers. Why aren't I on the first line? I think I deserve to be on the first line, but we had Jeff Nelson and then the next guy, and Jeff played, he was a first rounder. He's from Prince Albert. And actually and his brother Todd Nelson were on that team. We won the Calder Cup, but we had I think it was Michel Picard, Jeff Nelson, and Mike Boback. And that's the guy. Picard and Boback are probably the two guys that I thought that, man, like with the skill they had and everything else, that never ever did. Maybe Picard did, but never ever did get an opportunity to play in the NHL. And even that year, right? So we had Andrew Brunette, who went on to play over 1,000 games in the NHL. And you can look at his numbers. I mean, he never even played a game in
Calder Cup fan. Yeah, wow.
We had Sergei Gonchar, I think, played 3 games. Jason Allison, which I think you heard his name a few times last night. I think Dylan Cousins just passed him or tied him for points in the World Juniors. Who else? Yeah, I mean, Andrew Burnett never played. Yeah, we were stacked. I mean, our 2 goalies were Ole Kolzig and Byron Defoe. And Byron never even got a game in playoffs. Ole was our MVP,
Yeah. Okay, well, let's shift her up to the toughest guy.
Well, it's either
guy you ever fought.
I mean, I think there's so many tough guys out there. You got Marchment and Churla, and the list goes. Rob Ray. The list goes on and on. But obviously, and I'll tell you the story about Proby. I think Probert's the toughest, and that. I mean, I did fight Tie again in the NHL. The one thing with Tie, you can't hurt him.
Great.
You can't hurt him. I mean, even the fight in Saskatoon here, I did buckle him, but man, that guy's got a rock hard head, man. I mean, he can take about, stand there and take about 5-6 punches, laugh at you, and then he turns and smiles and he starts throwing. And you know what the coolest thing was is back in 2013, right? So Ty goes his way, I go my way. We play against each other in 2013. Like I said, I was back here for the thing while Ty was here, right? So
yeah, I think his boy would have been playing. Max would have been playing in the tournament.
Max would have been playing, right? So my old roommate, Dean Holine, I'm standing, we're at Hudson's, and I'm with my cousin and his girlfriend, and all of a sudden Dino comes over, and Dino's a character, man. He's freaking hilarious. And he comes over and he goes, "Killer, look who I found." And here it's Tie Domi. So it ended up, we talked and we ended up exchanging numbers, and we kind of become best friends.
Yeah.
Till this day, I text him just before the season started, and I knew it was going to be whatever. And we've, lost money. And I said, "Hey, can you get me a jersey for a raffle?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll get you one for one of Max's too." And that kind of thing. So, we stay in touch, and but again, that's the hockey world.
That's solid. That's solid there, Killer. And you always hear about the code that you guys have amongst each other. And you watch the documentary that Chaser put together. You read Proby's book, how tight Ty and him were in the end. It's some people look at it in a different light, and I think they really need to get to know you guys better, and you hear the stories about what kind of a teammate you were. And that was the way hockey was played. It was a different game back then, and it was a role you guys had to embrace and take on. And it was, you can't tell me there was a tougher role in hockey. When you're coming to the rink tonight, I'm getting kind of butterflies and anxiety listening to your stories here. I want to know what you felt like sitting on the bench and you got to go out. I don't know if you've been tapped on the shoulder or if you just know it and inside that it's your time is up and you got to get out there. But do you get those butterflies right from your asshole to your ears right before you're about to go?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you know what's the crazy thing is, like I remember guys would look at the lineups. You know, they'd have the lineups in the locker room in the American League or whatever, and I remember guys would talk about, I'm fighting this guy and all that tonight, and you know, Twister says, well, I'm fighting Link Gates and, you know, all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm 5'9", and I'm like, I don't care who it is. I'm going to fight anybody. You know? and this is a true story. I remember Seattle and Regina made like a 10-player trade, 5 for 5. And I, the next day, and I, at practice, Jack Bokus, I go, Boke, did you hear about the big trade? With Regina and Seattle, 5 for 5, and he's like, no, I didn't. So who was it? And I said, I don't care who it was, because I just got 5 new players to fight in Regina. So, you know, I don't know. It's just that was my kind of mentality that I'm gonna go score goals, and then I'm gonna. I don't know. I was like, I'm going to get as many Gordie Howe hat tricks as I can. You know, I'm going to.
How many? Can you tell us?
Oh, gosh, I got quite a few. I mean, you know, always like in junior and American League, you get a goal and assist, and then it's just like,
yeah, then you just
get the fight out of the way first and get involved in the game, and then go score and get an assist. You know, so.
I'm guessing the tap on the shoulder from the coach probably didn't come for you as much as it was them trying to hold you back from fighting as you're putting up numbers and all that shit, right? So you might be the opposite of a Probert or those guys that get out there and do it. They're probably like, fucking quit it, man. Stop getting in fights with guys.
Yeah, we need you on the ice.
Yeah,
you're scoring.
And that's you know, I know Marcel Como. No coach ever tapped me on the shoulder.
Yeah.
I knew my role, right? So,
yeah.
You know, Marcel, you know, that's the thing. Most of the coaches told me, well, so I went to 2 NHL camps, Minnesota and Quebec, and both, one was a GM and one was a coach. After whatever the scrimmages, they said, Kevin, we know you can fight, man. Let's play the game now. So at least I was recognized. You know?
You knew. Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, it was like, Kevin, we need you on the ice, man. We need you to score goals. They said, we know you're tough. Let's let other guys who can that are bigger fight, and then you just worry about scoring goals. But I just, you know what, it was just in me that I love that other side of the game a little too much. You know, that just what it was. And I remember, and I just told this story to someone. We were playing in Florida against the Panthers, and we were down 4-1 going into the third period. And I fought Paul Loss. It was very, very tough. And we ended up, like I said, turned the tables. We ended up winning 5-4 in overtime. And you don't want to lose in Florida, because usually everyone brings their golf clubs, and
right. You get to have a game of golf the next day if you win, eh?
Golfing, right? Yeah. So we ended up winning, and like I said, we stayed the night and reading the paper at breakfast the next morning. And Pat Peak, who was my roommate, I think he got the winning goal, and he said, hey, I didn't win this game. Kevin Kaminski won this game for us. We had no life. We were dead. Kevin went out and fought Killer went out and fought their toughest guy, and got us life back in the bench. And so he won this game for us. So that was, you know, I will always remember that, just because, like I said, I never got to, you know, in the NHL, if you're not top 6, you're not gonna,
yeah. You
know, like I said, I'm lucky to get 2 or 3 shifts a period, right? So when you get out there, you got to make the best of it. And you know, I said, I always remember that quote from Pat Peak that you don't have to score a goal to you know, to win a game either. So there's always, like I said, you got your goal scorers, you got your muckers, your grinders, you got your guys who sauce and make plays, but you got your guys who are going to stick up for your Peter Bondras and Michael Pavankas and
Yeah,
all that.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a huge part of the game, and you know, we hear the guys calling the game talk about momentum, and that's exactly the role you would have played many times. I bet you probably didn't rehearse just to do it for momentum change at times. From my understanding, you like to, you know, sometimes it would have been after a whistle or whatnot, but plenty of line brawls back in those days too, eh? Killer, like it was 5-on-5. You don't even see that anymore.
Yeah, and you know what?
Say back in the Blades days, would you say like every other game there'd be a bit of a 5-on-5 scrum? Do you think?
You know what? Actually, it was with us. Yeah, you heard about the line brawls all the time, but you know what was the crazy thing was we never had too many in Saskatoon. You know,
Well, who would want to?
Yeah, no shit.
Find
Who's gonna
five
fucking
guys that
fight
wanted
us?
to match up with you.
right. You know,
Really, that's that. There's some tough dudes come out of Saskatoon. You know, we were at one of Chaser's deals here in Saskatoon, 2 or 3. It would have been his first one, and we were at the Sheraton, and they're doing the open mic up there, which I thought was excellent. It was one of the most entertaining evenings I'd had in a long time, and they were talking about kosher and how when he tried to hit you, he literally tried to put his fist right through you. Who, you know, we talk about who's the toughest guy that you probably fought. Who do you think was the scariest guy?
yeah. I mean, that's Joey Kosher would probably be the scariest. I mean, I remember watching fight, and he split the guy's helmet in two.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, he punched so hard. Like I mean, yeah, like he hit the hurt, right?
Yeah.
Damage.
I think the highlight of that night was when wasn't he playing senior hockey and got a call to go back to Detroit because they needed some toughness, and he ended up winning a couple cups, right? From senior hockey in Saskatchewan to the show. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you know what the funny thing was? I remember in the 2013 Memorial Cup, they had it was at Hudson's in the back room.
Yeah.
And they had they had the Stanley Cup there, right? And I think you had to buy tickets or somehow you had to have something to go to get back there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was with Joey, and he walks back there and he doesn't have a ticket, right? And the guy says, well, you need to get a ticket to get in. He puts up his hands. I go, here's proof right here. I got two of them.
Here's 2 tickets, right?
Yeah. Come on, killer, let's get in.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, well, we'll start to try to wrap it up here a little bit so we don't go all day. We could chat all day on these great.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to have Killer back here.
But
I want to make sure. I know in our people can't see this, but Killer, you got your own line of apparel. And I'll let you touch on that. You can go get it and see Killer 2332 on Instagram and DM you for whatever you need. But something that you're giving back to, which you know, back when you played, nobody even talked about it. So I want to let you give our audience a little insight to that.
Yeah, you know what? Like I said, it's been a privilege to play the game, you know, for many years and coach in it. And I've always, you know, from I think just the way I was growing up, mom and dad, and I was always taught to give back. And so I've done that. Like I said, I remember even with the Blades, playing with the Blades, Ackland's back then, they did the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yep.
And for every point that I would get, they donated money to the Make-A-Wish. And I remember a little girl, Natalie, making her wish come true. You know, with the points that I got and Ackland's, and we got to know Ackland's people. Awesome. It was just it was a great time back then. But yeah, I mean, I've always, whatever promo I could do, I would do. And then, like I said, once I got to the NHL, I started doing my charity golf tournament right in my hometown in Churchbridge, and it's still going on today. Like, people always ask me, said, well, when is this going to be your last year? I said, hey, if we can keep doing this and make 15,000 on a Saturday, like it used to be big. Like the 1 year, so it's only a 9-hole course, right? I flew in the Hanson brothers.
Oh, nice.
Oh my gosh. Like, I mean, so the small town, right? Like, everyone's got the mullet, right? They got the high top runners on and
Chiefs jerseys.
Yeah. So I tell you what, like, the bar back then was called the Bar, and everyone, like I said, I walked in, like, we took them to the hotel. They went up to their rooms, and I remember Steve Carlson, he looked back as he poked his head through. He says, "Oh my gosh, boys, this is going to be one for the books." Because it was some little rooms up above the bar, right? So, but I remember dropped them off. I went back to the house and came back. I walked into the bar. I could not tell the Hanson brothers apart with all the boys with the mullets and everything else, right? So, but just to make a short story short, that year we raised in 2 days we raised $32,000.
Oh wow!
And we had 261 golfers on a 9-hole course. It was like we had this on the 5th hole. We had a bar, music blaring. Like, that's where the party was. Like, everyone's, oh, you go ahead, you guys can tee off, and I don't even think hardly anybody.
Bar carts wouldn't even have worked. The bar carts wouldn't even have worked. You just needed to have a bar stationed at every 2 holes.
Yes, exactly. Like, I don't even think anybody finished their rounds, Everyone was there partying with the Hanson brothers. But yeah, back to Killer Hawks. Like I said, I've got the little clothing line, and a very good friend of mine from way back with the Blade days, Darren Anderson, Gobby, as we all call him.
Yeah, you bet. Anybody that leaned up on a bar at the Pat knows who Gobby is.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the back door worked good for us.
Yes, isn't that a fact?
But Gobby's brother, committed suicide, and I had known him too, and just I think with all the stuff that I went through with concussions and some alcoholism and all that stuff, that the mental health side of it, and Kelly Chase at one of his events really touched on it too. And like I said, it's that's a pandemic itself.
And
especially during this pandemic, you hear, like I said, you can't get out, you can't socialize and all this stuff. And like I said, my phone is always open to chat with whoever. But with my killer line, my clothing line, that I donate money to Love My Mind, which Gobby has put forth in care of his brother and the others who are suffering. That I donate $1 to for every piece of clothing that I sell. And you can go to killer-hockey.com. It's just some cool apparel that I've come up with. A buddy of mine made the logo that I used to play with. And like I said, it's just, again, trying to give back as much as I can, and to have a little fun with the clothing line as well.
Well, in the short time I've got to know you here, Killer, it's been an absolute pleasure on a couple different things. Tanner, I don't know if Tanner knows this, but Killer's actually connected us with the group in Laurens to possibly do a PBR when we can get some fans in the building, which I appreciate. You're looking after Nolan, and hearing the stories. It's been an absolute pleasure. I wish I could have known you for 20 years, and I'm sure we just scratched the surface on some of these stories, but really, really appreciate having you on. You're a role model for all of us, and I mean that. Just from what our listeners are going to hear today, I think that everybody can take something away from your stories. So Very much appreciate it. I know Tanner's got a question for you, how he ends off all the pods here, so I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah, definitely. And before I get into that too, same thing, Killer. I just want to let you know, a guy that played at the levels that you played, and the person that you are in society, to come back, and I see it all over your social medias, and talk about mental health, and like you said, especially in this time, in this pandemic when nobody can leave their houses. On top of it, this time of year always seems to be a more depressing time of the year, of after the new year, and the snow and the cold up here, and like you said, for everybody listening right now, all of us three guys are all here if anybody needs to chat or talk. And back to you, Killer. It's just a guy that looks up to you, for a person like you to be able to talk about it and open up, one of the toughest guys to ever play the game of hockey, to show that it's okay to talk, and it's okay to ask for help. It just shows that anybody out there can do it. If a guy like you can do it, anybody out there can do it. So I appreciate you stepping up to the plate and doing that for everybody in the game.
Well, that's the key, is to ask for help. I mean, I never, on the ice, you see me, but off the ice, I'm a totally different person. Even in the Ken Dryden home book, my dad said he's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When back in Churchbridge, the way I used to make money was I used to babysit.
Yeah.
I love kids, and actually I went and taught a lesson yesterday at Sirius Hockey Academy. And I got a very nice message on Instagram from a mother who, her daughter Brielle, just said, he explained everything, and why, and to all that, and that just made my night complete, to get that little message from a mom that her daughter was so excited and had so much fun and learned so much in 1 hour, and that's what we got to do. We got to, to me, like I said, it's a privilege to play the game, but now I think it's my duty to give it away, and let these kids, it like you said, it's been compared to the days when I played to this day, like I said, with Mike Babcock coaching and all the other coaches that I talk to now, the other little nuances of the game today, compared to where they were back when. I mean, and I think it shows the success that we had in LaRange last year. They had 28 wins in 3 years the year before, and we were 33, 19, and 6. And, just again, it's about teaching, developing, and mostly all trusting everyone, your players to trust you, and to get everyone on that same page. And like I said, the game's changed, but it still hasn't. You need everybody to go to war for each other, and you're going to be successful with everyone being on that same page.
Yeah, as in life.
Shit,
right?
you got me fired up. I want to come play for you, Killer.
That's right. Okay, so the last question before we wrap up, hashtag NFP. What does that mean to you?
NFP.
You see it on all our hats. Jason, you can probably attest to it a little bit more too.
Did Curtis ever tell you what it means?
You know what? I think he did, and with too many concussions, I forgot already.
Well, for hockey moms, I tell them it means no flip passes, and for the dads, I tell them it means no fucking pussies. That's my only F word I'll ever say on the podcast.
I like it. Yeah. I have a little thing that's DFC. And this is what all the players, it goes to, I put it on the board, and I said, the guys from last year, don't say anything. The new guys, what does this mean to you? And no one knows. It's don't fucking cheat.
I like it.
All right, exactly.
That's just, if you, like, I'm just saying, like, you hear Canada and their coach, Team Canada, and you hear Dylan Cousins, I think is obviously a great leader, and he just says we're pride all the little things, and I have a list of pride all the little things that I give to the guys to read, and to just don't cheat. If you don't cheat the game, you don't cheat your teammates, you're going to be successful.
I love it. I really like that. I think we can go hand in hand. We could hashtag DFC and hashtag NFP. We might be onto something, new venture here, Killer.
I think so. I think so. I like that NFP though.
If you combine both those, there's no way you lose. Not a chance.
I agree.
And this will be a day late, but going into tonight, that's what our country needs. Bring home that gold.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I've lived in the States for 27 years. Oh man, I love the States, but I don't love their hockey. So Canada better win this one. I'll hear it from all my buddies in the States.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
And I don't need that.
No.
We just, like I said, I don't care who else. I don't care who wins gold, but long as the States doesn't win gold.
Yeah. The rivalry's alive. Yeah. Okay, Killer. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It was an honor, and you know, not even the NHL stories and the fight stories, but what you're doing for mental health and just giving back to your community, and the recognition that you receive for just being a good guy throughout your life. It's a pleasure to be able to sit down and have this visit with you. So we'll hope to have you back. We didn't even touch on the concussions and other stuff that we want to touch on, but it was so much fun, and so, you know, like we said, we could sit all day. So we're going to have you back. That's for sure.
We'll have a part 2.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, like I said, hopefully we hear some good news, and we're going to hold off the part 2, but yeah, I would definitely love to come back on, JD and Tanner, for sure.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yep. Thanks for having you. And the NFP podcast presented by 3D Entertainment. Our guest today, Killer Kaminski. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Awesome, Killer. That was great.